Singapore is now the second lowest in Southeast Asia for employee engagement. 61% of workers report burnout. To unpack the data and its business implications, we have here Kanika Singh from Gallup and Jaslyn Kiu from Mad About Marketing Consulting. So, what are the top drivers behind this disengagement? Kanika, would you like to start?
Globally, Gallup, we do conduct a lot of analysis around employee engagement. And one of the big factors we find that really reveals that drop or connection in variance of employee engagement comes from the immediate manager or supervisor. So now, if managers are less engaged themselves, then it kind of has that effect on the team and then on the productivity of the business and the economy, right? So you can imagine that it's very hard to find engaged teams run by disengaged managers. So really, manager engagement dropping has been a big factor globally that we have found uh, associated with the drop in engagement. And if manager engagement continues to decline, it will not stop with just managers. It won't stop with just engagement. Actually, the productivity of organizations and economies will be at risk.
So at my end, I'm seeing three key drivers. Firstly, I think there is digital transformation fatigue. Thanks to COVID, there was an acceleration of digital transformation, especially for the SMEs here in Singapore, even though digital transformation started about a decade ago. But COVID certainly forced everybody to adopt very quickly. And I'm also observing there is generational workforce complexities. What I mean by that is that we are seeing a group of non-digital natives employees mixed with semi-digital natives employee and then fully digital natives employees coming together to try to cope with the transformation that's going on at the workplace. And that lead to very different expectations and experience as well as perspectives around how to deal with technology, how to navigate the processes, as well as how to build a workplace culture that's conducive for such challenges. And then I think the third, which Kanika herself pointed out, is I think there is a leadership development gap in the workplace. There are a lot of people that are being forced fit into people managerial roles. Sometimes they are technical experts, but they might not actually have the soft skill or actually people management leadership skills that would enable them to do the roles very successfully. So that caused a lot of disengagement in the whole process.
Now, with 61% of employees feeling burned out, are we looking at an emerging talent crisis?
So I'll say to some extent, yes. As Gallup, we track negative emotions for the world, right? So we track things like stress, worry, anger, sadness, loneliness. And we have actually seen that the stress levels in Singapore have seen a sharp increase this year. And for those of you that track the happiness report that we publish, we've also, as a country, dropped on the happiness rankings this year. So, of course, it really does connect back to the workplace, and organizations need to address this in a structured way. I'd say almost thinking of this like, how we think of healthcare, right? Like preventative healthcare really helps us, not just curative. In the same way, when we think about burnout, it's not just addressing when it happens, but it's also addressing the root causes of it, or almost preventing or reducing the intensity of burnout. So that really has to be more systemically, right? So we have to have managers who can detect it, they can address it early. We have to have things in our listening mechanisms or strategies to really listen for if our employees are thriving or not, and really having more systemic addressing to the needs of employees in the workplaces.
So at my end, I'm seeing because of all the global restructuring and transformation that's going on, people actually are starting to worry about the very basic foundational layer of their job security. So then when people start worrying about such things, naturally they don't even have time to be engaged. In fact, they feel like if they're spending too much time engaging, networking, taking up even courses within the organization, that might actually take time away from their core portfolio of work that they need to now manage, or they need to actually cover across multiple portfolios now with the attrition and people leaving or being retrenched. So that all adds to the burden and it adds to the burnout. And on top of that, with the AI disruption that's coming on now, I think it adds to the compound stress effect. So I think ultimately, like what Kanika has said, companies really need to pay attention and create a safe space for employees to feel supported in terms of their perspectives. We need to encourage inclusive opinions and perspectives. We need to support different generational workers. Like for my fractional bench, a lot of them actually choose to leave what we call stable jobs because they were forced to choose between fully returning to office or being able to have a hybrid kind of a work arrangement. And many of them chose to still be able to work from home at the end of the day because they want to prioritize their children, they want to prioritize their families. So I think it's important for companies to be very conscious of this and give them that right of choice.
But what would be the effects? Could this disengagement trend threaten Singapore's long-standing reputation as a high-performance business hub?
So I think a lot is changing in our external environment, right? So there's macroeconomic factors, there's technology and transformation associated with that. So I think we really need to think about through all of that, how can we reimagine engaging and supporting our workers in this high performing, high pressure environment? And it could actually be an opportunity to trigger growth. So when we estimate the loss in productivity that's caused by low engagement, that's actually about 73.6 billion Singapore dollars. And so there is a lot of opportunity, I'd say, on the table in terms of really looking at where can growth come from, especially in the uncertain times that we are in right now.
So I think now is really the right time for companies to take action and really prioritize people as well as culture in creating a right conducive environment and the right processes to support what we want in terms of the AI-driven economy. For example, with AI, we are at a risk of becoming just purely executors or producers instead of creators. For example, if we force feed, we try to adopt AI for the sake of it without looking at what kind of problems they're trying to solve for in the first place, and then not bringing up our people, not equipping them and enabling them with the right process and the right training to go along with us on this AI journey. So then that leaves us at very high risk of becoming purely creators and executors instead of original thinkers as well as creators and innovators.
Thank you so much for your time today, Jaslyn and Kanika.
Thank you.
Most welcome.
Once again, those were Kanika Singh, Regional Director at Gallup, and Jaslyn Kiu, Managing Director at Madabout Marketing Consulting. For more news, visit sbr.com.sg.